Okay, we might make a start. I'm sure other people would will join us as we're progressing through the morning. Hello and welcome. My name is Kylie Newey and I'm the Director of Policy and Workforce Planning at Jobs Queensland. I want to welcome everyone online. We'll probably still have a few people joining us over the next few minutes, but I would like to take this opportunity to respectfully acknowledge the traditional owners, the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples, and elders of the lands of sea and land on which that we meet, live, learn and work. I'd like to acknowledge those in the past, the ancestors whose strength has nurtured this land and its people and who have passed on their wisdom. We would also like to acknowledge those that are present for their leadership and their ongoing effort to promote Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples and their cultures. We acknowledge those of the future who will inherit the legacy of their efforts. To assist with information gathering, today's session is actually being recorded. So the link to the recording will be provided in coming days, as with a flyer with the QR codes to all of the information that and services that we're talking about today will be shared with you after this session. So please don't feel pressured to frantically write everything down or scan the QR codes if you're wanting to listen to the presenters. That is perfectly okay. We will be sharing that information. So it's really about us sharing information with you today, and you can follow up if you have any questions, please drop them in the chat, or you can follow up with us following the session. I would like to hand over to Mary Creary, the Executive Director of Housing and Homelessness Programs. She's the Executive Director in the Department of Housing, Local Government, Planning and Public Works. Over to you, Mary.
Thank you, Kylie, and good morning, everyone. And thank you so much for taking time out of your very busy schedules today to come and hear about all the support and resources that are available to you to assist in workforce planning. And a huge thank you also to Kylie and the team at Jobs Queensland for pulling this session together, which I'm sure is going to be really informative. I know there's a great lineup of speakers here today. And I think that everyone will hopefully get something really useful to take back with them to inform their future thinking around the workforce. I think probably important to say that there's never really been a more challenging time for housing in Australia and certainly in Queensland. And I know that you'll all be very aware that just in the last number of weeks, there has been a really exciting announcement about the Homes for Queenslanders plan, which has a really ambitious target over a 20-year period of around 1 million new homes, 53,500 of which will be social homes. It's a massive investment. There's also a huge investment in homelessness responses. It's a $526 million invested in the homelessness system. And there is also an investment in support for the private renters in the form of a renters relief package. So really a lot happening. An incredibly challenging time, I think, for everyone who's working in the sector at the moment, and a lot to think about going forward as we plan for a sustainable future for our workforce. And we've been working over the last wee while with Kylie and the team around the supports that are available to start to think about the sector, long-term workforce planning, etc. And today's session is really part of that work. So again, a big thank you to Kylie and the team for pulling it together. And I'm now going to hand back to Kylie, who will keep us right in terms of the order of the presentation. So I hope you enjoy the morning and you'll take away something that is really going to be helpful for you. It's the start of the journey of collaboration, and hopefully you will get a lot out of it. Now back to Kylie. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Mary. Hopefully everyone can hear me okay today. Naturally, the speaker decided that it wasn't going to work straight after I handed over to the next speaker. So I did want to cover off on what the future skills needs for the housing and homelessness sector is. So Jobs Queensland's Anticipating Future Skills series provides employment projections at a region, industry, occupation and qualification level, along with replacement demand. And using the definition that was provided to us by the Department of Housing, which reflects your sectors, our modelling suggests that an additional 6,747 jobs will be needed by 2025-26. So the anticipated growth is over 27%. So you are going to be experiencing a sharp increase in workforce requirements. I'm probably not telling any of you anything that you don't already know or are not already aware of, but noting that this figure does not include the replacement demand. So that usually increases the new workers that are needed as people leave the industry either due to resignations or retirements. You can use the Anticipated Future Skills series for workforce planning, which is the reason why I'm mentioning it to you. It does help you identify regional jobs growth or to help you make decisions about your for future careers. And it provides detailed employment projections to help you understand what Queensland's future labour market might look like. And it's also available from the QR code on the screen for those that want to do a deeper dive into the data. Having a look at that jobs growth for the 6,747 additional jobs, rather than having a look and focusing on that exact number, it is focus on it as a trend. So the anticipated growth is probably more important than the actual figure itself. I did want to walk you through the free Workforce Planning Connect resources that are available. Jobs Queensland has developed in partnership with Business Chamber Queensland the free Workforce Planning Connect tools and resources. They are available to download off the Jobs Queensland website using the QR code, and they also step you through the 4 stages of workforce planning. So Workforce Planning Connect provides free resources for organisations to undertake workforce planning on their own.
Sorry, Kylie,
there is a workbook.
Just to quickly cut in, we're getting a few messages that it's not showing up on the screen, the PowerPoint for the.
Okay, so it's not showing up for everybody? Sure.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yep.
There we go. Now it's working. Thank you.
Perfect.
If you're able to quickly go back, maybe one slide, Kylie.
Sure. Thanks
Great.
for letting me know. Okay. So the QR code to look at the tools and resources on the bottom right-hand corner. It will be on each page though. So Workforce Planning Connect provides the free resources. The workbook is on the bottom left-hand corner here. That one's best for micro to small businesses. The guide is in the middle, and then off to the right is the larger toolkit, which is best for small to medium-sized enterprises. You can download and fill in all of the relevant details for your business. The resources ask you for information. They provide space for you to fill in your details, but they also tell you why the information is important. Lots of businesses do report to us they feel a little bit intimidated about the process, which is why we've tested it, the whole process with actual businesses through Business Chamber Queensland to make sure that we got the balance right.
Power off.
The important part is to make a start. So by starting the process, you'll realise that you likely already have a lot of the information that you actually need to fill in the entire toolkit or workbook. And for the parts that you don't have, you can begin to collect that information for next time. It's all available on the website, and there's also templates that you can download and you can customise them to your business as well. So who is workforce planning helpful for? The resources were developed with micro, small and medium-sized enterprises in front of mind. So if you have a business from 3 to 30 people, perhaps even more, Workforce Planning Connect has been designed for you. And we know that a lot of businesses are unfamiliar with workforce planning, or they're not entirely confident in the area. They haven't done it before. So the process provides you with detailed information through the tools and resources so that it's good for those who are in a position to build your knowledge or capability in workforce planning. You might have a need. Sometimes it might be a really urgent need. You've got a lot of workforce challenges at the moment and you want to respond to the changes in your workforce. It's for businesses who want to explore opportunities for growth or expansion, or just for those who are ready and willing to look at your future business to ensure that your workforce is positioned to underpin the success of your business. There's a lot of benefits for undertaking workforce planning. For a lot of businesses at the moment, it's around responding quickly to changes and things that are happening around them. It can also have other implications for things like improving productivity. You're able to actually have a look at and identifying risks and start putting things in place to reduce those risks. You can increase your employee job satisfaction and improve your retention strategies, as well as plan for new and emerging skills. Workforce planning does work best when it's integrated into your business plan. But if you don't already have one of those, please don't panic. There's speakers coming up that will actually be able to help you solve that problem too. So we're here to help you this morning and set you in the right direction. It will help ensure that you have the right people at the right place at the right time, doing the right things so that they can help you achieve your business goals. So along with your business plan, your workforce plan will get you and your workforce ready to respond to any changes in your business environment. It's also important to remember that workforce planning is a dynamic process. It's a cycle and you should do it regularly. Generally, when you do your business plan annually or you update, you can do your workforce plan as part of that process. So what types of strategies are considered workforce strategies? Things like developing your existing workforce skills and capability, attracting new employees to address any skills gaps that you might have in your business, retaining your valued employees, and managing your workforce through business change. Conversations regarding these 4 key strategies are generally related to workforce planning, and they're not unfamiliar to businesses. A lot of businesses are already having these conversations. So in summary, I hope that I've provided you with a brief overview of the tools and resources. They are free to download. There are 4 stages to workforce planning, and they do step you through the workbook for micro to small businesses and the toolkit, which has all the templates attached that you can download and put your own logos onto. And both of those resources will step you through the 4 key stages of workforce planning, and they are all available on the Jobs Queensland website. I did want to hand over now to Kelly Kerwitz. She's the Manager of Industry Engagement, Department of Employment, Small Business and Training.
Thank you, Kylie. Just making sure I'm coming through. You can hear me and my slide is up.
Yep.
Wonderful. That's a seamless transition if ever we saw one. Okay, so this morning I am going to provide you a bit of an overview of the Industry Workforce Advisor Program, so the intent and the purpose of that program, give you a bit of a look at the achievements to date, and a bit of an idea as to how the IWAs are able to support you and employers within your sector. So some of the slides that are here are going to be for your information purposes to provide afterwards. I won't stop and talk in detail on every one because I have included a fair bit of information. So I'll just get cracking through. So the Industry Workforce Advisor Program is one of the key deliverables under the Queensland Workforce Strategy. They are funded under the strategy as one of the 33 actions, and the service is at no cost to employers to engage with an industry workforce advisor. So for those who don't know what the workforce strategy is about, it came about out of the Queensland Workforce Forum in 2022. I think in August it came into fruition and is well and truly underway. So 33 actions sit within those under 5 key focus areas. So the industry workforce advisors have been developed under the workforce participation area, and that is the support there for employers to rethink employment practices and diversify their workforces, and in fact, if that's what they are wanting to achieve. So the IWA objectives there to provide tailored assistance to small to medium employers. So that is employers that have under 200 headcount, enabling them to address their workforce challenges. So they do use the Jobs Queensland Workforce Planning Connect toolkits that we've just had an overview of to assist those employers, or working with groups of employers across an industry. So some are actually working on projects that will be in a little bit of a regional place-based type response. And then to connect those employers to relevant existing available supports, whether that be through government programs, grants and initiatives, or other types of projects. And we will be hearing about some of those this morning as well. So the key services there you'll see are using the JQ resources, supporting the employers, looking at what their future business plans are. So I think that was a really lovely piece that you included into that conversation, Kyla. That's definitely one of the ways the industry workforce advisors have these conversations. And that was in recognition that they've changed the approach and the conversations they're having with employers, sort of steering away almost from a workforce conversation and actually saying, well, what's your business need and what is it you need within that? What does the resources look like? And then getting into a conversation about what does the team need to look like essentially, and actually creating that conversation in more of a human element. You'll see there under Area D, it is also assisting employers to navigate available grants and incentives that may be available to them. Now, the industry workforce advisors are not able to complete any grants on behalf of an employer, but they can direct employers towards those that are relevant and help them navigate the eligibility and the purpose of those to see that they're fit for what they are wanting to achieve. So each IWA will develop approximately 180 workforce plans. We're looking at things like, improved attraction and retention workplace development practices, and that's the capacity building from an employer perspective. So really understanding, what they wanted to achieve when they engage with the program, and then assessing them at the end to see whether or not that's something they feel that they have done. Increased workforce participation and retention of underrepresented groups, and that's where it's relevant to what that employer was wanting to achieve. So here's a bit of a snapshot to give you a bit of an idea where we're at. So there are currently 10 active industry workforce advisors, but there are 11 industry workforce advisor roles. That is because at the moment the community services area has a vacancy, and there is very active procurement underway to source a new suitable provider for that. So just letting very important for your sector this morning to know that. You also have access to the First Nations Healthcare and Social Assistance Industry Workforce Advisor as well. So in the meantime, there are definitely ways that we are able to continue to support you. If you do have any questions, you can definitely come through. So of the delivery to 31 December 2025, 50% of the employers are expected to, at minimum, 50% of the employers will be expected to be outside of Desbert South East metropolitan region. So I've included the map there to show you as at the 29 February marker where the employers had been situated and the breakdown of that across the state. We also have, so looking at the list there, I think it's also relevant to mention that the Australian Computer Society, who is the Business and Information Communication Technology IWA, will look after industries that haven't been explicitly covered there, and that each of those areas are sitting with a relevant industry peak association. So the IWAs will support collectively up to 1,800 employers by the end of the current contracted period, and that is well and truly on track. We're looking at the IWAs developing workforce plans, documenting workforce strategies. And it's also important to note that not every employer will actually go through and complete a documented workforce plan. So the IWA is really, I guess, shifting their conversation based on what the employer is wanting to achieve. And it could just be a very quick connection into a relevant group training organisation, for instance, or a bit of a list and an understanding of where they could find a suitable training provider to provide the kind of skill development they're looking for. So it won't look the same for every employer. And I've just included down at the bottom there, I won't read that out, but a bit of an idea as to what it means for us when we're using the word supported, so you know what that might look like. So where we are up to at this point in time, again, 29 February, we had 818 businesses that had been supported. So again, that's that broader term. 471 of those had actually gone through and developed a documented workforce plan. And 354 had been supported to apply for a HR support grant, which was sitting underneath the Workforce Connect Fund. I mean, that's quite a tremendous activity. Important to note that only employers that had actually engaged with an industry workforce advisor and developed a documented workforce plan were eligible to go ahead and apply for that grant. So that's why that's a significant number. Now, just wanted to provide you a little bit of a snapshot as to some of the observations and reporting in from industry workforce advice is probably not a great surprise that the busyness for most industries out there, this doesn't relate to any one industry, it's really across the board, is a genuine barrier to engaging. It's really good conversations that in some of the expressions of interest or surveying of employers that the IWAs are reporting that most employers really identify the importance of workforce planning, once they kind of understand what it is and can see exactly what the value is to them and why they would develop a workforce plan. But obviously the vast majority of them don't have that. And again, just the two boxes down the bottom, just talking about how conversations play out differently in each of the industries. So there's a lot of similarities, but there's also some variances within that. So not all employers' journey is going to look the same. So a couple of things of interest here, that across the board, there's demand around traineeships, the access to fee-free TAFE. So there's a few tools and resources that the industry workforce advisors note are of good demand, and that's the business mentoring or mentoring for growth program as well, that has been around for a very long time. The HR support grant obviously has been quite popular over the last 12 months, and the Harrison's career tool for retention. So the industry workforce advisors have actually undertaken training across a number of different programs themselves so that they are better equipped to be able to talk to employers as to what it looks like in practice for them. So some really great stuff too in terms of that area too, that employers have demonstrated an openness to flexible work. So looking beyond, what they're able to offer if they're restricted in terms of remuneration, that there are some smaller things that can be done that actually have made quite a significant difference in some instances for employers. And the suitably qualified staff and trainers across a lot of industries also comes up as a conversation as well, and more relevant to some industries than others. What we have also noted is that employers are actually engaging, that one of the incentives for them to engage with the program is because they know that they've got the support of a workforce advisor there through to the 31st of December 2025, which means that if they start the workforce planning process, they feel that there's a sense of security in that they can come back to that IWA as a resource to them throughout the next period of time to be able to continue to review and shape their action plans, which I think is really promising. So a bit of an idea here as to what workforce support might be looking like in practice with some of the IWAs. Again, it's their documented plan. There's connecting into HR specialists, and as I mentioned before, that can also be RTOs, the group training organisations, apprenticeship networks. So it's looking at specialised recruitment too. So there's lots of different conversations about specific cohorts where there are specialist services that can support that. And this is about helping employers navigate the, knowing where to start. And that's definitely one of the things that we ask them, and we'll be connecting in with them to say how much more confident are they now after having gone through the process with an IWA in being able to source these things in future. So as we've said down the bottom there, so wherever demand can be met by existing products and services, that's the intention. So with the raft of tools and resources that the industry workforce advisors have in their toolkits, they talk about the workforce planning micro-credentials. They talk about the Workforce Evolve program. They talk about the Back to Work short courses, and these are things that are really popular. They're available to employers readily, and continuing to get traction around that. So just wanted to mention here a couple of things that might be of interest to you. So even having conversations about managing workplace behaviours and working on team culture come up in conversation. So it's not all just about, skill development and upskilling existing workforce. That's definitely part of the conversation, but it's having a look at what's already happening within your workplace and looking at retention strategies within that. So some of their conversations have included supporting employers to look at their current work structures as much as they can, having a look at reshaping position descriptions, addressing burnout, looking after your team's mental well-being as well. And I think, particularly for the sector that our audience this morning represent, I think that that's highly relevant. Again, it's just looking at those retention strategies outside of remuneration and helping employers to think outside the square. The advantage is they're having lots of conversations with lots of employers, which means they're getting, new ideas themselves, lots of creative heads. It's wonderful. And I think that that's probably bringing me to the end of what I need to share with you this morning. So you can visit the Business Queensland website. Each of the industry workforce advisors has direct contact information on there and a lovely photo so that you know who you are speaking to. At the moment, as I mentioned, we do have the vacancy for community services, but that will come through to us in the meantime. And you do have Andy, who you can contact, who's the First Nations Healthcare and Social Assistance. In the meantime, the industry is manned by our team, and we can certainly have conversations with you in the interim. So on that note now, it is my pleasure to hand over to our next presenter, who is Dr. Wayne Graham. He's the Senior Lecturer and presenting this morning on the Workforce Planning micro-credentials. I'll stop sharing.
Thank you very much, Kelly. Really appreciate that. And I'll see if I can get my seamless transition as good as you. Is that working okay, everyone? Wonderful. So with Kelly's introduction, I'd like to now change lanes a bit and talk more about education and how we can take the fantastic resources that Kylie talked about with Workforce Planning Connect and also working with industry workforce advisors. And I've met them all and they're fantastic. And we also promote, particularly not only promote, but connect participants in our planning courses to industry workforce advisors so that they can have industry specific mentorship, but also importantly, helping them once they've got their plan to implement their action plan. So UniSC, or University of the Sunshine Coast, has entered into a partnership that spans now 4 years with the Queensland Government Department of Employment, Small Business and Training. We all know them as DESBIT, and also JQ, Jobs Queensland, to now deliver 4 postgraduate microcredit courses. So in our short conversation now, we're going to talk about the business planning course, the continuity planning course, and the 2 workforce planning courses. Okay, so let's start with the business planning course, because this is where it all began about 4 years ago in the Moreton Bay City Council local government area as part of a COVID economic recovery initiative. We found that there were lots of business owners in various sectors that needed to change their direction pretty quickly. So with some seed funding, we developed a business planning course, provided that in the Moreton Bay region, and then over time, the success of that initial course has meant that it's grown now right across the state of Queensland. So in all cases, when we go to a region with the business planning course, we help small business owners, operators and managers to develop a business plan. Now, Kylie mentioned previously that a workforce plan works really well when it's in concert with a business plan. We've had participants do the workforce planning course first, followed by the business plan. I've had participants do the planning course and the workforce, the business and the workforce planning course simultaneously together at the same time, concurrently. So it really doesn't matter which order, but I guess if you're to ask me what would be the ideal model, it would start with the business planning course and from there go on to the workforce planning course. But in all cases, they're delivered on-site and online simultaneously. So we have a classroom, we go all across the state. Right now it's week 3 of the Mackay business planning course. We're up in Mackay, but we also have business owners from right across Queensland joining us for those workshops, which are held for 2 hours every Thursday morning for 7 weeks. It's free, just like free TAFE. Through this agreement, thanks to the Queensland government, is provided free to all micro and small business owners, that is those with less than 20 full-time equivalent staff on their payroll. This is a criteria that relates to the business planning course, different criteria for the other courses. As I mentioned, we help them develop a business plan so that they can be grant ready or investor ready or bank ready. And as Kelly mentioned, we've also found when we talk to some business owners, they're not always in a growth trajectory, but some are actually looking to execute their succession plan or their exit strategy. But mostly we find that the business planning course attracts small businesses who want to grow and want to create jobs. So, of course, that's very attractive to some of our grants, particularly offered in the Queensland government system, but also we know that there are other sources of funding as well, including private investors, angel investors, banks, and so on. In the business planning course, similar to our other courses, a successful completion of the 2 assessment items, which are optional, you don't have to do that. In fact, only about 1 in 5 of our participants go on and actually do the assessment items and get the feedback. But if you do, you do receive 1 course credit toward our graduate certificate in business administration. That's a 4-course degree, a 4-course postgraduate certificate, and the business planning course will take care of one of those electives. So that's 1 out of 4 that participants, small business owners right across Queensland can gain if they successfully complete the course. So I've mentioned a business plan, that's 1 assessment item. The other assessment item is a presentation. So you present the draft business plan to a local panel of experts. And we rely on the Desbots Mentor for Growth mentors, industry workforce advisors, and other experts, bankers, accountants, but also insurance brokers and grant writers. And as part of that assembled team, they're there really to encourage and give feedback to those that present their draft plan. They then get some 4 or 5 weeks to then work on their plan to submit that. They get feedback for their presentation, and they also get feedback on their plan, their written plan. Okay, so on to the workforce planning courses, which is more really on point and on topic of today's webinar. Again, also funded by Desbot in partnership with Jobs Queensland. On the back of the business planning course success, it was piloted last year in the North Coast region at our Caboolture and Sippy Downs or Sunshine Coast campuses. But as I mentioned, it's also simultaneously delivered online. So the business planning course, we've had over 1,000 businesses undertake that course so far, and the workforce planning course, we've had over 200 participate in that course. But it's some exciting news hot off the press is that we've just got funding to expand that again this year. And so throughout this calendar year, we'll be targeting the workforce planning course for business with 2 streams this time. So again, we've utilised the curriculum by accessing all of the material that's been assembled by Jobs Queensland in partnership with I keep going to say CCIQ, but it's not. It's Business Commerce Queensland. And so therefore, with all those resources that have been assembled, we just allow participants to seamlessly, we hope, bump in and out of those resources. But now we're looking at two streams, so they can use the existing workbook to help develop their workforce plan, but we've now got a stream that enables a bit more advanced thinking around the workforce plan, and that is using the toolkit that's part of the Workforce Plan Connect resources. So Business Chamber Queensland, in association with Jobs Queensland, have done really the heavy lifting, and we're bringing along, we're designing a curriculum around that. The workforce planning for regions now, we did introduce the concept of look, workforce plans are not just for organisations or businesses. They're actually can be done on a statewide level or a regional level. And so now we've got the workforce planning for regions where regions can come together. Again, we're working closely with local government Queensland, and through the network of 77 councils across the state, we'll be providing a course later this year for regions to develop their regional workforce plan, and probably loosely around the local government areas as a region, but not necessarily. It all just depends on the region. Similar to the business planning course, the workforce planning course is offered on-site and online simultaneously. It's free, just like the business planning course too. This time, all Queensland business owners, managers of all sizes and of all sectors. We've found of the 1,200 or so participants, all industry sectors have been represented, including all three levels of government, non-profit and for-profit businesses. But the workforce planning course, importantly, is not just limited to small businesses, it's for all types of businesses, all types of organisation. And the idea, again, is to help those organisations write a workforce plan, either for their organisation or for their region. And again, one course credit toward a postgraduate degree, the Graduate Certificate in Business Administration offered by UniSC. So we've had many business owners now undertake both the business planning course and the workforce planning course, and can take those 2 credits to our credit team, enrol in that Graduate Certificate of Business Administration and do further study and get a degree with 2 free courses. The good news is also those other 2 courses in the Grad Cert are also currently Commonwealth subsidised even further. So the Commonwealth supported places, that means they're about 2/3 of the normal tuition fee price. So that's our business planning course and our workforce planning course. We have and now there's really 2 within that, the workforce planning for business, the workforce planning for regions. So that's really 3 courses now. The 4th course is the continuity planning course. We're currently underway with our inaugural continuity planning course, which we're delivering simultaneously on site at Caboolture campus as well as online. And we have about 80 businesses currently engaged and participating in this course. All of our courses, as I've mentioned, co-created, co-designed, co-delivered, co-assessed and co-evaluated by multiple industry partners. We've got working groups for each of our courses that have helped us design this. And again, a really hats off to the incredible resources that are available through our partners in the presentations on this webinar. It's also a 7-week, it is a postgraduate course. That means that we have to follow all the guidelines provided by the Australian government and our quality assurance agent to make sure that it is a legitimate postgraduate course if we're providing credit. And for this course, we help businesses and organisations of all shapes and sizes, of all industry sectors, both for-profit and non-profit. We help them develop a continuity plan. So being able to have a plan so they can respond quickly to a natural disaster or an unexpected critical incident or a circumstance such as a cyber hack. So cyber security, data security, really part of this course, as well as having a plan together so that we know that if we're in Northern Queensland, it's inevitable that there'll be a climactic event at some stage that we have to be prepared for. If we know that our business is situated in known floodland, we have to be prepared for either storms, cyclones or floods, depending on where our organisation is located. So that's what the continuity planning course aims to achieve. Again, 2 items of assessment, both optional. The first one here in the continuity planning course is a scenario. So you have a group interview, goes for about 15 minutes. You get together with 2 or 3 of your other co-learners. We provide and describe a scenario and you tell us how you might respond to that scenario or event with your continuity plan. And then the second item is the continuity plan itself. So 4 courses in total, but 3 within workforce planning. We're still in the process of developing further resources for the workforce planning for regions course, but we do of course have these 3 options available now. So either access those QR codes now or through the recording later on. And as I said, we've got the business planning course, 2 more iterations of that this year. So we're off to Ipswich next in about 4 or 5 weeks' time. Registrations are open, and immediately following that, we'll be going to Toowoomba, although you can study online. The continuity planning course, we'll be about halfway through the Moreton Bay or Caboolture campus delivery, and then we'll be going to the Sunshine Coast, but also available online. Workforce planning, keep an eye on the website because we'll be developing a suite of resources and locations, but very likely back up to North Queensland and then down to the southeastern area and places in between. So that's a summary or a wrap up of our courses. I'd now like to introduce Isabella and Kathy, who are going to talk about the Workforce Evolve program. We also, as I mentioned, promote the programs offered by Business Chamber Queensland as well. So I'll hand over to Isabella and Kathy.
Thanks, Wayne. Just incidentally, I've done the workforce planning course through USC, and it is a really, really worthwhile course. Fantastic discussions. You learn a lot from other businesses, other industries as well. So I can definitely recommend that one. We'll just wait for our slides to load here. Beautiful. Okay, looks like that's displaying well. So my name is Isabella. I'm one of the workforce coaches for Workforce Evolve, and I'm joined by my colleague Kathleen Adenek as well. Together we deliver the program and provide all of the educational and coaching elements of the Workforce Evolve program. Our program is funded by the Queensland Government's Workforce Connect Fund, which you've already heard a little bit about this morning, and it is delivered by Business Chamber Queensland. So as Wayne said, we were previously called Chamber of Commerce and Industry Queensland, or CCIQ. We've gone through a bit of a rebrand in the last year or so, and now we're Business Chamber Queensland. So if you've heard those 2 names around, we are the same place, just a slightly different name. Our program Workforce Evolve is completely free and open to all employers in Queensland. So we don't actually have a size limit on how big an employer needs to be in order to participate with us. It is every business in Queensland. And our program is designed to support employers to rethink their recruitment and retention approaches in order to appeal to a wider segment of job seekers and also to retain diverse talent into the future. So let's have a little look at our workforce today. So we know through our research that recruiting and retaining employees has been the single biggest constraint on business growth in Queensland for the last year, and that comes from our quarterly pulse surveys that we conduct. We also know that Queensland's population will have grown by 10.9% over the 5 years between 2020 and 2025, and this requires an additional 280,000 jobs in our state. So the current labour shortage that we're seeing, these statistics are definitely contributing towards what we're experiencing at the moment. So even though we do have extremely high participation at the moment, we do know that there is low representation among certain groups in our community. And just 2 examples that I can provide today are the 29% of job seekers who have a disability or job seekers from culturally and linguistically diverse backgrounds. Here in Queensland, for example, we know that 22.7% of our population were born overseas. These are quite significant segments within our community, and this represents an opportunity for employers to make some slight changes in their approach to better engage with these underrepresented cohorts. Looking into the future, Queensland has big things on the horizon with the 2032 Olympic and Paralympic Games coming to town, and this will bring both opportunities and challenges for our state. It's projected that we'll see $8.1 billion in economic benefits thanks to the Games, but this will also require an additional 91,600 jobs in an already competitive labour market. We will also see our population grow by a further 10% to 2030, and during that time there will be a shift in demographics as the baby boomers approach retirement, and we see a 30% increase in people aged over 65. All this to say that our community will look very different in the next decade, and the labour force is likely to remain very competitive. Employers will need to do what they can to attract the widest segment of job seekers possible and engage with those underrepresented groups. These groups can include women who are likely to be carers or escaping domestic violence, First Nations people, people with a disability, people from culturally and linguistically diverse backgrounds, the LGBTIQ community, and mature age workers, among other groups. Workforce Evolve provides the building blocks and the coaching to help you make these adjustments to your recruitment and retention practices, and we offer all of this for free.
So in this challenging employment market, there is great opportunity for employers to rethink their attraction and retention strategies. Workforce Evolve provides employers a great starting point to build capability and set yourselves up for success. The program will help you to create or revise your employer brand to become an employer of choice. Businesses are used to marketing their own products and services to attract customers, and in today's tight labour market, employers are competing for talent. So by understanding your market, your competitors, and what sets you apart from the rest in your industry, Workforce Evolve can assist you to define or revise your employer brand. Do you have a recruitment strategy? Is it working for you? Do you know why people are joining or leaving your business? Do you understand your workforce needs? We've got the tools to help you with your workforce roadmap. And in today's market, environmental social governance, ESG, is important to win business, particularly in government tender processes. So an organisation consciously demonstrating sustainable workplace practices will benefit in the long term. ESG is becoming expected of business. Clients value it, job seekers expect it, and government vendors in the supply chain are increasingly insisting on it. So this is your opportunity to get ahead of the curve and build a socially sustainable workplace practice. So, how will Workforce Evolve benefit you? We provide the foundation to build capability, supported by free business coaching to help you put concepts into practice and customise these to meet your specific business needs. Each self-paced module will take less than an hour to complete. Topics include business planning, learning how to apply diversity and inclusion lens to your strategic planning processes, including creating or refreshing your business plan, workforce plan, talent attraction and retention strategies, and how to remove barriers to employment. As mentioned previously, this is a dynamic and iterative process. To create your employer brand, we use this information to understand just how you can set yourself apart as an employer of choice in the job market, to create a strong employee value proposition, and then how to embed this throughout your employee life cycle to support your workforce. We move through to workforce and workplace design and start with workforce planning basics. This is a great starting place for those who haven't done a workforce plan before. We collaborate with IWAs and refer employers who are looking for a more detailed workforce plan. We also cover job design, inclusive recruitment and onboarding practices such as unconscious bias, as well as workforce culture and policies and procedures to support inclusivity, making sure that your workplace is truly reflected in your culture. We move to empowering frontline managers and leaders with tools and resources to ensure they understand their responsibilities, including performance management, inclusive recruitment strategies, and benefits of completing a D&I analysis. We move on to ways to manage change in the workplace and look at strategies to manage and deliver transformational change, with covering topics such as the benefits of change, resistance to change, and shifting mindsets to embrace change. And we round up with employment law essentials, covering basic legislation, best practice consultation, and tips on how to right size. So by completing all 6 of these modules, you'll become Workforce Evolve verified. You'll get a badge which you can display on your websites, socials, and in tenders to reflect your commitment to inclusive workplace practices. So we know businesses are overwhelmed and busy, and there's lots of access to great resources out there. So we've created content that's relevant and engaging, with free content and practical resources. So you can learn in your own time or attend one of our workshops, access practical relevant content, resources and templates, access business coaching, which is tailored to support your business, as well as being connected with referral partners in our network who specialise in underutilised or specific diversity cohorts. So click the QR code to find out how to get started, or contact us on the details below. Isabella and I are here to support you. And that's all for Workforce Evolve, and we'll hand back to Kylie.
Thanks, Kathy. Before we finish up today, I just wanted to say a big thank you to the presenters today. We did come, I guess, pitch this to them a few weeks ago, and they've really been able to pull everything together so that we can present all this information to you today. We will be loading up the recording onto the Jobs Queensland YouTube channel, so you will be able to access it after lunch today. If there's been any information, we will also circulate. There is a 2-page flyer that the team has created to be able to share with everybody who was in attendance today, but also those who were not able to join us they had pressing matters that they needed to attend to this morning. But big thank you to all of the presenters from Mary, Kelly, Wayne, and Isabella and Kathy as well. Thank you so much for your time this morning and sharing information about all of the programs and the free services that are available to businesses across the housing and homelessness sector. If you're anyone that's wanting to keep in contact with Jobs Queensland, the information is available on the screen at the moment. We do have e-news, LinkedIn, and then also on Twitter. Please link with us. We do put information out that's relevant to you. Try and put things through on a regular basis. So touch base with us at any time, but we will be loading this up and also sending out flyers. So thank you so much for your time this morning. We do appreciate it, and we hope that you learnt something and able to connect with the services that were put forward to you. Thank you.
Thanks, Kylie. See you guys.